Dan Trudeau here. I'm the VP and Executive Recruiter at PRA USA, and today I want to talk to you about a new, very unique relationship that's forming between two, what's on the surface, very different areas, Detroit and Silicon Valley. Now, as I mentioned, especially in terms of public perception, you couldn't find two places more dissimilar. Detroit is looked at as this relic of the past, a declined relic of the past, while Silicon Valley is looked at as the home of our future technology. Um, it Detroit has tried to shake this image a bit, especially when it comes to the development of things like infotainment, electronic controls, and other advanced technologies for cars, but it was still having a hard time shaking its Rust Belt image. In the meantime, Silicon Valley, I mean, it's the home of Google, Uber, a multitude of companies that are shaping our future very visibly, and not just for us in this country, but all over the world. Now, if we go back earlier, specifically the first half of the 20th century, Detroit was the Silicon Valley of its day. The automobile was that great new invention that was changing the world. It was opening the world up to the average person. And not only that, the way the automotive industry like hired, paid people, had them work, really paved the way for this great move for millions of people out of poverty into this rapidly expanding middle class. Now, a combination of factors, from globalization, automation, social factors within the city, really changed Detroit's fortunes. And in the latter half of the 20th century, it began to decline. And at the same time that was happening, Silicon Valley and the tech sector was moving in the opposite trajectory. The advent of internet technologies just threw fuel on that fire. And, as we all know, Silicon Valley is the place where we're, building our future. And those technologies have changed life in a lot of ways the same way that the automobile did. Now, so what's happened over the last decade or so to change this and take these two very different places and start to make them work together? Well, it's really the advent of two specific areas of vehicle technology: electric vehicles, or EVs, and autonomous driving. And we're going to talk just how those two areas are changing this dynamic. The advent of West Coast companies such as Tesla and Uber made California, for the first time, a major site of vehicle technology development, and it makes sense. These technologies are driven by advanced software and electronics, and not only does Silicon Valley have the pool of engineers to do that work, it's also where you're going to find a lot of the entrepreneurs to start up and manage the company, and the VC funds to finance these companies. So it would have made a lot of sense if the Bay Area started taking a lot of this work away from Michigan. There's just one problem with this, though. Developing the next new car is not the same thing as developing an app. There are considerations that come into factor. In order to have a very successful consumer car, you have to make something that's reliable in a variety of extreme conditions. It has to meet some very rigorous safety standards. It has to be easily manufacturable, and it has to come in at a very specific price point. There wasn't a community of engineers and people in the Bay Area who had a lot of experience doing that. Well, this is where Detroit comes in. Because even traditional consumer cars now, traditional cars, are driven more and more by electronic controls. That means the automotive industry in Detroit had been creating this pool of engineering talent in advanced electronics and software, because they had been developing things like fuel system controls, active safety systems, infotainment, braking and steering electronics. Really the developments that had led to the advent of electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles. They had created the stepping stones that made those even possible. So this has led to a partnership a lot of people were not expecting. This combination of Motown and the Silicon Valley that really looks to be the sort of partnership that's going to make this happen in the future. For instance, we've got Waymo, which is a Google spinoff, and they're partnering with FCA, Fiat Chrysler, for the development of their autonomous vehicles. You have GM, which bought Cruise Automation, a Silicon Valley company, for over $1 billion in 2016 to develop their autonomous vehicle technology. And then you've got Ford investing over $1 billion in Argo AI for the same space. Now, Argo AI is actually headquartered out of Pittsburgh, but their real development is done in Detroit and Silicon Valley. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, too. A lot of even traditional automotive suppliers like Veoneer and Aptiv, they've been developing a lot of these technologies, and they've opened up offices in California or expanded offices in California so they can do the work out there as well. It's interesting because even though the current recession, the current crisis has put a dent in this work, like it has with everything, the automotive companies globally are very invested in these technologies, which means that they're going to be the first areas to bounce back. The process has not been free of speed bumps. Detroit engineering centers, even the high-tech ones, have a very different work culture than a Silicon Valley startup. Now, we've spoken to California engineers who get very frustrated by what they consider the slow, deliberate pace of automotive systems development. Now, and this is in place because they have to hit those standards that we talked about previously. Now, at the same time, the development of a fully electric, autonomous car is a fast run to a distant goal. Whoever lags in that run is going to leave with their pockets empty. So, for these projects, the life cycle has to be a lot shorter, which is where that, Silicon Valley, let's go for it type work attitude comes into place. And another thing is, development of these technologies often involves a lot more direct day-to-day interaction with management, including up to the executive level. Now, automotive engineers sometimes bristle at this. What they would consider micromanagement, a Silicon Valley engineer would consider a, positive, direct relationship with my executives. So what these companies are trying to do is take the best of both worlds and merge them together. It's a tough task, which is why, technology hurdles aren't the only ones that they have to clear. That said, the company that can successfully do this, that can, come up with the magic formula to get all of this done under the same roof, they're going to be the ones owning the largest market share. And it's going to be a very big market. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the PRA USA YouTube channel. Over the coming days, weeks, months, years, we're going to be sharing insights, giving lots of career advice, and just answering a lot of the big questions in the day when it comes to the technology career market. Use our 30-plus years of experience to help you have the future you deserve.